What's up, you guys? Marty Schwartz here with Marty Music. Thanks for hanging out. Really excited to be bringing you guys a technique lesson. We're going to be mixing the major and minor pentatonic, so let's not waste any more time and get right into it. All right, so I'm going to just talk about some mixing the major and minor pentatonic together concepts. I know people seem to really get a lot from that concept and ask a lot about it, so I'm just going to tackle another little element of it. Now, I'm going to give you a context. I'm going to play an E Hendrix chord, you know, this E7 sharp 9, which is bluesy, and then a G up to A. It's kind of like Higher Ground by Stevie Wonder. But those are just great rock chords, right? So the natural inclination when I hear that with my ear, forget about music theory, I hear it with my ear, you know, I'm thinking that minor pentatonic. That kind of thing, right? But let's just look at both the major E major pentatonic and the E minor pentatonic for a second. The E minor pentatonic, you know, it's got the root on the 12th fret. We're just going to use the main, you know, home row position. In fact, we're going to use the same position for both scales. The E minor pentatonic is the index on the root. And then the E major pentatonic, this is a little shortcut. You can put your pinky on that root and play it right here. But still the E notes, which in the major pentatonic position, the roots are still on the 12th fret, just like they are for the E minor pentatonic. But then we got one other spot in this position, which is one that I lay on heavily in this major mixing, major and minor thing, and it's right here. So that would be the 9th fret on the G string, an E note. You know, all the E's. All right, so like the mixing in the major and minor, it's just one way to describe little sounds that you're pulling out. So I've seen people argue that, you know, they might go about it explaining it in a different way. And that's okay. I do kind of visualize that major position and that minor position, but when I play that E Hendrix chord and the G and the A, the straight up E major pentatonic doesn't really sound that great over it, especially this major third note, which would be right here on the 9th fret of the B string. Right? I mean, you know, if you start noodling around, you might be able to find ways to make that work. So that means if you're just playing the major pentatonic over it and then you switch to the minor pentatonic, that's maybe not the best approach when we talk about this concept. So here's what I really like, and this will be kind of just a little exercise for you. First thing is you've got the classic 10 and 12 on the D and the classic 10 and 12 on the G. Well, that's a really strong little positioning in the E major, which doesn't define major as much as that note does. These actually really kind of still fit in the key. And there could be other theoretical explanations besides calling it the E major pentatonic. They're notes that are working over this progression. But you'd have this great little box on the D and G the exact same way. So it'd be 9 to 11 on the D, then that root on the 9, and then you've got the 11 on the G. Okay, now, then you've got the exact box on the 10 and 12 on the D and G as well. So one thing you can do is just start to switch between those two and hear what that sounds like. They both work over any chord of that progression. Now, when you get to this part of the major and you're on that 11th fret of the G, if you bend that up a whole step, it's that note that we don't like so much, the major third. The G sharp. But if you toy with right before the G sharp, now you're getting those kind of quarter tone bends, those little passing sounding notes. And if you do a half step bend, it's a straight minor third, which would be that. So you just want to, you'll hear it though, that if you go to the full major bend, it doesn't quite work. But here I'm going to play, mess with that, and then do the same thing in this position, just to give you an idea of how you can mix these sounds. So another little thing that, this major third that we don't like so much is right here on the 11th of the A string. But if you immediately slide it down as part of that extension, it works pretty nice. You just don't want... That's not the sound, it's... Right? So... And what I was doing a lot of was really kind of emphasizing that part of the minor pentatonic from the major pentatonic position. In other words, this minor third of the minor E minor pentatonic, which is right here, the 12th fret. It's a G note, not a G sharp, which is the major third. A lot of blues is about bending that, but not quite up to the major third. And so I was doing that a lot in this major position, which the 11th fret of the G string, you get some really nice bluesy sounds by not bringing it all the way up to the major third. It's more of a... And you can also slide it back and forth like the blues note. And that's what happens right here. If I'm sliding from that major third really quickly, like, I can then start to play with more of the minor third right there, which would be between the 10 and 11 on the A string. Whoops. All right, one addition, and this works really well in this major position, is, remember how I said we don't like this major third note for this kind of progression? Which would be, this G sharp. But the A note works really well in this kind of, it's part of both scales. Well, actually, I take that back, but it's a good note. Let's put it that way. So instead of playing that major third, you can skip it and play the fourth right here, the A note, and you can even do it with your middle finger or your index, but I'm just going 10 to 12 on the B string, and then transitioning to the 11 of the G. If you use your middle and pinky, then your ring finger, you don't have to do a hand position change. And so for this kind of progression, I really think of it as a minor pentatonic progression, right? So you could do your whole thing with the minor pentatonic and E blues scale, never toy with these little things that I'm showing you. Or you can just really, you can still just think of it as the E minor pentatonic and just sprinkle in these little ideas just to mix things up a little bit, but still think of it primarily as the E minor pentatonic scale. Like so. All right, I hope you got some concepts out of it. Maybe it helped you get out of a rut or something like that. I really hope it did. Also, thanks for supporting me at my own project that I've been 100% dedicated to for almost 2 years now, Marty Music. Really appreciate it. You can sign the newsletter in that link in the first comment down there. And thanks again. We'll see you real soon.